Warning: this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners. Due to the graphic nature, listener discretion is advised. Welcome from wherever you are. This is the Demon Inside podcast. I am your host, John Benham. If you would like to review another episode of the Demon Inside, you can go to Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any podcast platform. And please, don't forget to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars. A new episode will come out once a week. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
A young boy in the hospital tonight after being chained and stabbed more than a dozen times with a steak knife, and authorities say it was the work of his own mother. Good evening, I'm Jamison Euler. Wendy has the night off. Tonight we are learning more about a horrific attack that could have ended a 7-year-old's life. Our Jacqueline Inglés spoke exclusively with the family babysitter and joins us live with the latest. Jacqueline?
Right now, investigators are still trying to piece together why this happened. They say 42-year-old Maisa Alvarez has no criminal history or history of mental illness. And as of now, they do not believe that alcohol or drugs caused this. Earlier this afternoon, I was able to speak with the family's babysitter. She was able to give insight as to how this mother and son got along. It's a home kids in this Lake Wales neighborhood would come to hang out. Maisa Alvarez could often be seen sitting in this lawn chair, watching as her 7-year-old son played with friends.
She was just a all-around nice person. Every time she came home, I would speak to her. She'd come over and talk to me and see how my baby's doing.
Markeisha Bostic babysits for the Alvarez family.
When I would come over and his mom told him not to bother anything, he would just balled up, or he'd even kind of tussle with her as she tries to take something from him.
But Tuesday morning, police say Alvarez tried to take more from her son than just his toys. She tried to take his life. Lake Wales police say Alvarez is cooperating and admitted to chaining up her sleeping son and then repeatedly stabbed him with a steak knife. It's when the boy started fighting back that Alvarez stopped and called 911.
There was not a tearful face. There weren't emotions, almost a blank, a lost look on her face.
By Bostic's account, there was nothing out of the ordinary with the family. She says Alvarez doted over her son and was great at spoiling him.
Every game, every toy, he has everything. Computer, everything.
Bostic believes the stress of giving her son everything and being the best stay-at-home mom she could caused Alvarez to snap. Police, though, aren't so sure.
No one knows what goes on inside anyone's home when the door is shut at night.
Alvarez's husband was out of town on business when this happened. Right now, he is in Orlando at his son's side. The good news is the boy is expected to survive. As for Alvarez, she is behind bars tonight facing attempted first-degree murder and aggravated child abuse charges. We're live tonight in Lake Wales. Jacqueline Inglés, ABC Action News.
Hello, my Demon Insiders, and welcome back to the Demon Inside. I'm your host, John Benham, and today we are going to be talking about the Demon Inside, Maisa Alvarez. So, Maisa Alvarez tied her son with a chain and stabbed him several times. And this is one of these cases for me that it is kind of a demonic possession. You have to remember this isn't like the Exorcist movies or, any of these other horror movies. This is more of a short, small jump where this thing takes over. But the mother, her love for her son conquers this demon and gets him out. before we talk about all this, let's go ahead and talk about her, a little bit of history that I have. I don't have much on Maisa because there wasn't much. Because, for one, thank God, the son that she stabbed did not die. And two, there was no follow-ups, there was no any of the stuff, because I guess the news media figured that it wasn't that intriguing. Now, on the news media feed, you hear where the friend is talking about a toy being taken away from the child. Well, the news media probably clipped and pieced and put together things so that when the listener, like yourself, heard it, you'd be like, okay, I could see now. She was taking that toy away from the kid, and so she was a violent person. But no, if you continue to listen to that interview, she says that she had bought everything and anything that the child wanted. She was involved in school, and we're going to get into all that right now. But let's go ahead and talk about her past just a little bit. Maisa Alvarez was born in, and I believe 1970. Now, they didn't say, but I'm kind of trying to count the years. And she was raised in Brazil, where she worked as a teacher. She was a college graduate, and she married her husband, Carlos Alvarez, and in 2002, she and her husband moved to Lake Wales, Florida, where Carlos works as an engineer at a juice processing company. And within a couple of years when they got there, she got pregnant, which was the joy of her life. The family is an average family. They've never had any type of medical calls to the house or police calls or mental illness. Now, I'm going to give you some things from some friends of theirs because I want you to understand what kind of personality Maisa had. I'm not just going to throw out, oh, she was a killer or blah, blah, blah. No. This was her friend, Maristela, and Maristela is a professor, and I'm going to read, and I quote, "I am friends with Maisa. I was her professor at the university. She is a sweet, caring person with enormous respect for others. She came to my house last year when she visited Brazil." Maristela also says this: "She and her family need help. May God guide everyone. Make no mistake, she is a person of great character and education. A person who is very dear to everyone who has ever known her. Be careful when judging this human drama." End quote. Now, her husband, and remember, this is her husband who shares a child with her that she stabbed. And during testimony, her husband said this. He said that his wife, a college-educated woman with no prior criminal history, has shown remorse for her actions. She is a loving, caring, giving woman. She is a loving mother and good wife. So, with that being said, let's get into what happened on the morning of September 12th, 2012. Maisa had been dealing with depression for some time, but her friend Keila Barra Alves wrote to the Gazette, which is a Brazilian newspaper, saying, "I've known Maisa for some time, as her entire family. I was at her house in Florida 2 years ago. I heard that she was suffering from depression. Maisa is a friend, an exemplary mother, very polite and affectionate with everyone. The depression was not affecting her life. She is a loving mother. Now that's what Keila said, her friend. And it goes on and on and on about people. Everybody cannot believe that this happened. So on the morning, when Maisa woke up, she said she started to feel nervous. And she said she felt like a bad spirit had took control of her. She says she heard voices that told her to kill her son. Now, Maisa considered, instead of killing her son, she considered killing herself. But she couldn't do it. I believe this is when the demon entered her. We've heard this before where it seems like an out-of-body experience, or they were watching everything happen from afar, or like it was watching a movie. And you can't do anything about it. Maisa said she went to her bedroom dresser, opened it, and got a 2.5-foot chain and a couple of small luggage locks that they would use when they would visit Brazil. Then she went to her kitchen and selected 2 kitchen knives from the counter near the sink. She walked into her son's bedroom. Her son, sleeping on his bed, didn't know what was going on. He was still asleep. She began to tie his wrists with the chain and locking his hands together. Alvarez said, and this is what she says, Maisa says, she tied his hands with the chains and put the lock and started to stab him with the knife in the chest and shoulders. The 7-year-old boy woke up and tried to defend himself by blocking the attack, and he received defensive wounds to his arms. Now, this is when he says, "What are you doing?" She immediately stopped. She was confused. She was not realizing what she was doing. As soon as she stopped, she took off his shackles. She put the knife and the chain down on top of a dresser, and she called 911 immediately. She stayed on the phone with dispatchers until shortly after police had showed up with the emergency personnel. Now, the police say that when they showed up to the 1-story block house, okay? First, they say this. The investigator, Troy Schultz, says, in those 2 or 3 times that I saw her, there was not a tearful face. There was no emotion. It was almost a blank, lost look. Police responded to the house, where they said inside the house it was a well-organized, clean home, and Maisa appeared confused, disconnected, and disoriented. Now she says, and I quote, "I don't believe what I did is happening to me." End quote. She kept asking about her son. She said that her husband had been out of town, but he was a very good husband. Just like she kept saying that her son was a very good boy. She told police that she didn't plan to harm her son, but had been feeling sad and bad for a while. She didn't know what was causing her depression. She indicated that she had felt homesick for her native country of Brazil. She asked the officers, now listen to this, guys. She asked the officers to help her. she said, and I quote, "I don't want to do this again," end quote. So officers started looking around the house and they found the bloody blankets. The floor and both the child and his mother were covered in blood. And when the investigators arrived, they saw that the 2.5-foot chain and the knife were put on the dresser. I mean, they were full of blood as well. But they noticed her demeanor. Like I said, she was calm and emotionless throughout the whole thing. Now, Maisa told police she saw her son in pain. Now, listen to this. This to me is really sad, guys. Because if this demon did take control, this is the moment that love beat this demon. Maisa told police, and I quote, "I saw my son in pain, and my love for him caused me to stop and call 911. Now, Trey Schultz, who was the investigator at the house, said that she had a blank, lost look in her eyes. And I keep saying this, but I want to emphasize that because whenever somebody is possessed, they have that lost look or blank eyes. And we talked about this several times with several of my shows, especially the one where the mother was trying to drive the van into the ocean. When people saw her expression, they could only say that she looked blank or lost. So the police arrest Maisa, and they take her to jail, and of course, her story is exactly what I've been telling you. And the police still are far away from understanding why she did it. And she doesn't even know why she did it. So the neighbors started talking to the news media, and one of the neighbors, Owen Campbell, said this: "It's not supposed to happen." He said that the family would leave him their phone number whenever they would go to Brazil, so that way if there was an emergency, they could call them and let them know something was wrong with the house or whatever. He also describes them as church-going family. And he says this, and I quote, "You never know what's going on in people's lives, but it's sad." Now, according to Troy Schultz, the police deputy chief of Lake Wells, he says this, and I quote, "It's very unusual. It's very scary to think that it could go from nothing to that," end quote. So other neighbors came forward, and like a Camilla Joseph, who said he was that, and I quote, he says this, and I quote, "He was very well taken care of to me. They were like the perfect family. I can't believe it. It's crazy," end quote. Other neighbors said that the boy's mother, Maisa, was always doting on her son and taking her son to school each morning and teaching him how to ride a bike. According to Cynthia Campbell, one of the other neighbors, she said, and I quote, "She must have just lost it or something, because that's not the lady I know," end quote. So now here's some of the good news. And it really is good news, because after the last few episodes that we've done, geez, some of those have been really hard on me. And this one's a little bit, it's scary and it's sad, but here's the light side of it. So the hospital officials told the police that the wounds were not life-threatening. As a matter of fact, they didn't even need stitches. Plus, he was released from the hospital the same day, and his dad had returned from out of town and was by his side while he was in the hospital. So then we get into the trial of this lady, Maisa, who everybody's trying to figure out why she did what she did. Even she doesn't understand it. And of course, they decided that they were going to do an insanity plea, and the court pretty much sentenced her to a year in prison, which it was already time served because she had been there for 13 months waiting for the trial. Now, she's out, and she is actually on probation, but I think that has stopped by now because, like I said, this case happened in 2012, and we're in 2025 now. While Maisa was on probation, she and Carlos were still married, but they were living under a different roof because of the plea agreement that they had made. Her son, she could have no contact with her son, or any other minor for that matter. Maisa lives in another home away from the boy, and she's been receiving mental health treatment. And everything she is doing is trying to get her son and her husband back. Like I said, she doesn't understand why she did it. Her husband doesn't understand why she did it. The only problem that I have with this, and I agree because the judge says the same thing, is that whether or not Maisa and her husband get back together, or her and her kid are all together and they have no problems anymore, this is still going to affect that child for a long time. He's probably going to need a lot of psychiatric help, because how do you get over your mother waking you up while she tied you and then start stabbing you? There's no way to fully recover from that. What I liked about this whole story is that her love for her child broke whatever little possession she had, enough for her to stop. Now, I'm not saying that other people that I've talked about on this show did not love their children. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in this particular situation, or this particular incident, Maisa felt like she needed to protect her child, even from herself. She accepted all responsibility for it. She accepted the terms of the agreement. She accepted the probation. She accepted everything. And still, the big question lingers of why. Why did she do this? I believe that this demon caught her at a moment when she was half asleep, half awake. That Maisa didn't know what was going on because she was still waking up. And then her feeling of sadness, her feeling of missing her home country of Brazil, her husband not being there, she was probably feeling lonely. She started to feel like something was taking over her. And possibly this thing went in when she was at her lowest. And when that happened, these other voices started telling that deity or that entity or that demon or whatever they got inside of her, these outside demons started telling them, kill the kid, kill your son, kill that kid. And it was that demon that went and used her mind to know where the chains were, where the locks were, to go get the knives. And the minute that she started stabbing them. Now, here's another thing. None of the wounds needed stitches. None of the wounds were life-threatening. Could this be Maisa inside fighting this demon to stop him from killing her son, to the point where this demon had no effect other than scratches on her son with the knife? I believe that's a possibility. And once the kid woke up and said, "What are you doing?" Because I'm sure he said "Mom" somewhere in there. He had to have. "Mom, what are you doing?" I think she realized, or she woke up from this trance, and that was it. The demon had no more effect on her. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to y'all next week.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Demon Inside podcast on any podcast platform. A new episode of the Demon Inside will be released every week. Let us know what you think of the episode on all our social media platforms. If you have any questions or comments, go to the Demon Inside podcast at gmail.com or click on the link down below. We would love to hear from you. And to become a Demon Insider, go to our website, thedemoninsidepodcast.com. We thank you for listening and hope you will join us next week for a new Demon Inside podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell your friends. I am John Venom, and I'll see you next time, if I don't get possessed. The Demon Inside was written and created by James Porter. It is a production of Venomous Entertainment. Background music is by Lucas King.